afternoon, guys. Here we go for another round of the Silverback's cooking journey. And here we are. We're going to do some barbecue ribs today. I have a rack of spare ribs here, and as you see, I'm just trimming it up a little bit, trying to get it looking pretty good, looking presentable, and ready to go for a great cooking journey video. So as you see here, you say, why do you have his finger under there? What I've done is I've turned the spare ribs over on their back so that the back is exposed, and I've cut down under this little layer of skin, which is known as the membrane. It's known as the membrane, and I'm pulling the membrane off of the ribs. This is important because if you don't pull the membrane off of the ribs before you cook them, they will get tough. They'll get really tough. And so a lot of times, sometimes you eat ribs and you can just barely get them off of the bone. Sometimes it is because people have left the membrane on the ribs. So I'm pulling this membrane part off. Many people don't know to do this. And so that's what you see here. So now I'm getting all of this membrane off. I'm also taking off any excess fat, any awkward cuts or looking meat, anything that I do not want on my ribs. Now I washed these ribs before I started taking off the membrane. I'm gonna wash them again now. Okay, and then after you wash your membrane and you get your ribs almost ready to be finished being prepped, you want to go ahead and turn on a pot of water. Now in this pot of water, I have well, this is actually a pot of stock. I have some onions, some celery, some garlic, some banana peppers, barbecue spice, and cayenne pepper. And save your stock, folks. Save your stock. Stock is great to put in different types of food. Okay, so now what I've done is I've cut these ribs into sections, just make it easier for myself and my family to deal with. As you know, it's just me, my wife, and my son. And so we don't need a whole big rack of ribs laying in the pot. I'm also, working on my weight, so portioning it out. Once my water gets boiling, I'm going to go ahead and after I stir it up, of course, I'm going to go ahead and begin to drop those ribs in this water because we want to boil these ribs. We want to boil them for a little while before we put them on the grill or in the oven. So I'm going to boil them for a while. This process in the country is called pow boiling. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm pow boiling the ribs. Pow boiling the ribs. We want to just kind of keep them tender. This is usually what I do with beef ribs, but I decided to do them with the pork ribs today. Then you want to get you a little dry rub thing going on. And I'm actually going to put a dry rub in here, in this rub that I'm making. So I'm putting some black pepper in. I'm also going to add some coarse sea salt. I hope you guys can see that. Aside from the coarse sea salt, I have this guy I met here in Lewisburg, North Carolina. His name is Billy, and I have some of his Billy Bub's Cajun rub. So we're going to go ahead. I don't have quite any more of that. So as you can see, it's pretty good. And so I'll leave that in the description below, and some salt-free seasoning. Make sure you support Billy Bub's. Like I said, the business is out of Lewisburg, North Carolina. And yeah, send them some love. Make sure you support. And lastly, that was some salt-free seasoning that I put in the rub because I told you guys my weight and I'm working on it. So we're gonna kind of mix this rub up together while the ribs are boiling. While those ribs are boiling. seem to be adding something else here. Yes, that was crushed red pepper. Crushed red pepper wouldn't be a great rub without crushed red pepper. We really love crushed red pepper, but as you can tell, I like kind of like a little spice and stuff. So my ribs have been boiling, power boiling now. You want to continue. You want to continue to turn those ribs over every 10 to 15 minutes, so that all of the ribs get exposed to that boiling water, so that they all can get inside of that bath and kind of fall in love. Now I'm putting the ribs into a dish. I did not have a grill prepared at the moment. We'll probably do some grilled ribs another time with another recipe that I do that I'm going to try. So after I take them off the pot, I'm going to throw my Cajun rub on there. Not my Cajun rub, but my dry rub. I'm going to throw my dry rub up there. And we're going to make sure we rub that in real good. As you can see, I don't have all the ribs in this pot. I'm gonna put some more in another pot, and we're going to go ahead and rub those down. Then we're gonna throw them in the oven. We're gonna throw them in the oven, and so now I have all of my ribs rubbed down in that dry rub, and my oven is actually on 300 degrees. I put it at 285, but I have it on 300 degrees, and we're gonna let that bake for about an hour. So we boiled the ribs for an hour, and we baked them for another hour. And so here's the result of the ribs. We're about to get ready to make a barbecue sauce, but before that, our scripture for this week to ponder on is 1 John, the 3rd chapter, and it's verses 4 and 5. This is in the Amplified. Everyone who practices sin also practices lawlessness, and sin is lawlessness, ignoring God's law by action or neglect, or by tolerating wrongdoing, being unrestrained by his commands and his will. You know that he appeared in visible form as a man in order to take away sins, and in him there is absolutely no sin. For he has neither the sin nature, nor has he committed sin or acts worthy of blame. And we want to make sure that we are striving every day to be more like him. So here in this pot, I'm making barbecue sauce because, you know, I love to make my own barbecue sauce. So I have some vinegar and some ketchup here, and now that's gonna, and I'm adding a little squirt of someone else's barbecue sauce. And that's just regular hickory honey barbecue sauce. I usually don't do that, but for the purpose of this episode, we did. A little bit of black pepper here. And the vinegar and the ketchup, that's all based on how much you like. You know, I have some cayenne pepper here. If you like to have a strong vinegar flavor in your barbecue sauce, of course you're gonna use more vinegar and less ketchup. It's completely up to you on what you're putting in your barbecue sauce. Okay. Then I had the black pepper, a little salt, and cayenne pepper at the end just to give a little flair, a little bit of kick. I'm pretty sure that had I not added the barbecue sauce, I would probably add some sugar. I may even add some sugar still to this mixture. And you're going to let that thicken up and reduce down. And then we're going to put it on the ribs. So here's the barbecue sauce. And I'm noticing, I've noticed here that I put a little bit too much vinegar in. And so I'm just allowing some of that to cook down and reduce down before I add it to the ribs. And so I'm adding a little bit more ketchup to that barbecue sauce here, so that it can reduce down. All right, so I've got it as thick as I would like, and I lost my my brush. I lost my grill brush. Normally I would brush these ribs, but I'm just spooning the barbecue sauce here on the ribs. See, you don't have to have all of that stuff. They're just making you buy it. Appealing to your buying habits. But here I am. I'm just spooning the barbecue sauce on the ribs here, making sure that I spoon quite a bit of barbecue sauce on, because I want to have a good flavor. And of course, you're gonna let that cook in the oven for about 15 minutes. Then they'll be done.